Welcome back, everybody, to Team Spirit. This is your host, Lauren.
Carrie.
And Emily.
And this week we're kind of doing a more open conversation. We don't really have a specific topic. We're just kind of talking about what's happening, our feelings, our thoughts, and
About our feelings.
is that Miss Rachel also?
Yeah.
Gotta love Miss Rachel. But we thought it'd be fun to start off this episode by reading each other's horoscopes for this week to kind of see, I don't know, if they fit with how we've been feeling. So, Emily, I can start with yours.
Perfect.
And Emily is an Aries. She just had her birthday. So, here we go. You get the impression sometimes that people wish you held yourself back a bit more, that they'd be more comfortable if you were less brave, less interesting, less free. They seem to take your confidence as a personal affront, your independence as a sign that you don't care about anybody else. They imagine that your happiness comes at the expense of their own. This isn't true, of course, and it isn't your job to convince them. If other people are determined not to understand you, that isn't your problem. Let them believe what they want, live your own life, satisfy your own expectations.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, how did that make you
Whoa.
feel?
That was wow. It invoked things that I didn't even realize I was feeling or thinking. As far as my immediate support system, none of them want me to be less. So I'm very blessed that, my loved ones, my family, my friends, they all support me and want me to be more. But it's so weird because I was just thinking, I think I was thinking it today, like, it's okay if you're misunderstood. Like, some people really aren't meant to understand you because they're not meant to be a part of your life. You don't align, and you're not
Yeah.
meant to understand them. So that really hit home for me. That
Yeah,
really,
that's a big conversation of people don't have to like the same things you like. People don't have to like you, and that's not your responsibility to make them or make them understand.
and I think, like, because I've been thinking a lot about, like, I don't know, here we go. I've been thinking a lot about, it's almost been a year since I quit corporate for this job, and I still feel weird telling people what I do. Like, not because I'm ashamed of it or like because I'm embarrassed, but it's more like it's just so unconventional and people don't understand it. Like, they think that it's, I don't know, some people think it's a joke, some people are scared of it, some people don't even know, like, you know what I mean, Carrie?
Mm-hmm.
You feel that way
Yeah.
too? Like, anytime I meet someone new, I like prepare myself for what I'm going to say if they ask me what I do. Like, am I just going to go ahead and say it? Like, I don't know, it really, I want to get over that. I want to not care. And
Right.
I don't know. But
Yeah, I
that,
hold my breath. I definitely hold my breath. I think it's gotten a little bit easier, but I can definitely relate to that majorly.
I
yeah.
The
took
fear
a
of judgment. It's you just don't want to be
right.
judged, especially by people that don't really know you
Right.
and, or really understand you. But I mean, I can think of 1,000 jobs that I would never align with, and I don't necessarily like judge that person for it. And I think so that's the expectation is that we don't get judged
Yeah.
either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
And we're our own biggest critic, I think. When I first lost my job and then decided to go full time on my own for my freelance, my biggest fear was that it would be, oh, she's just freeloading. She's just totally taking advantage and not working. And
Mm.
it's like, and then I stopped to think about it. I'm like, people know I've freelanced, people know I've had my different businesses. Why, like, is it really that me afraid of them thinking that? Or is this like an internal conflict of not feeling like I'm doing enough? Because all three of our jobs are like that, where we don't have work unless we do the work. And also the
Right.
work comes in flows. Our hard work gets put in the beginning and we see later. And it's that slow buildup. So for a while, it really does feel like I'm not doing anything.
Yes.
And that's really hard to, like, I feel like I over explain when I'm talking about what I do and how I assign people on, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's that, and that's a me thing. That is a total personal,
Yes.
but getting over that is so hard to be like, I mean, people don't have to understand and people didn't even have to like it. And people can think that I'm sitting home doing nothing. I can't control that. And
Right.
they don't see I call it the invisible list. Like when you write out all the things that like go into making your life, your house, things function, there's so much that doesn't get the recognition that like it deserves. And
Right.
sometimes it is small stuff. I actually yesterday I think someone posted about how it's a shame that we only celebrate births, weddings, and things like that when we should celebrate business moves, like
Sure.
all those sorts of things. They're big things too.
Yeah.
And we just don't celebrate them the
No.
same. And so I think that's also why it doesn't feel so big and great, is because it's sometimes not treated like that until you've, I don't know, made it big. And then like, what is big to you? I don't.
Exactly. It's subjective.
Right.
And I don't remember where I saw this, but it could have been TikTok. I forget, but it was really honestly powerful because it basically said people don't care about you as much as you think they care
Yeah.
about you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They,
I
they
say that all the time.
You are not, and it's kind of like, and I have to remind myself of that too, like you are not the main character in anybody else's story. You are the main
Right.
character in your story. So somebody that might be like, what? She's a psychic medium. It will last 2.2 seconds, but I guarantee you when they go home that night and they're going to bed, you are not who they're thinking about. And
Right.
about that kind of like put my ego in check in a way of like I'm afraid of what people think, but nobody cares. Everybody's too stressed out about their own shit that they're dealing with.
Right.
Mhm.
And I don't know where I found it. I was trying to look up the quote, but
Schitt's Creek, Alexis says it to David when he's going for his license. She's like,
Yes.
people aren't thinking about you the way you think about yourself. They're not watching your every
Right.
move
Because she
the way
was
that
like,
we're doing.
the driving instructor doesn't care. And he's like, oh, yes, he does. And she's like, no, he doesn't. Like, pay attention. And then
Yeah.
David's like, you're right. He didn't care.
Yeah. Because and
Yeah.
it's true. Like I've had this conversation so many times about like not having time to go to like a party for something because it just doesn't work with a schedule. It's not going to ruin their party.
Right.
It's not going to ruin it. As long as you are heartfelt and you're not just like being an asshole and not going,
Right.
it's not going to ruin their party.
Right.
Yep.
And that's
It's
fine.
true.
And it feels harsh to be like people don't care about you the way that you think people do, but it's
You
it's
need to
not it's
remind-
not meant to be.
Honestly, I'm glad they don't.
Me too. I
I'm glad they
know.
don't care about
There's
me.
enough judgmental voices in
The
here.
people that matter support you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
but I get it though. I get
Right.
it. It's a fear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's valid. That judgment will literally last 2 seconds and
Right.
then they're
Mhm.
never about it again. They're not gonna be like, can you believe Emily Kelly is a psychic medium? Can you
Right.
believe it?
And if they do,
And
they don't have a life.
And
So
if they do exactly, then they need to
yes.
they need to get something on their schedule.
I know.
Right, get a
I
hobby.
loved the way that our mentor, Carrie Koss, was speaking about being a psychic medium at our graduation because she put
Oh
it
yeah.
so eloquently and
Yeah, she did.
it
Yeah.
wasn't over explained. It was just beautiful.
Explaining to people that have no idea, like
Right.
just don't get it.
And there's a lot of people that don't, and it's not your jobs to make them get it. I think
Right.
that's a really good reminder for everybody.
Well, Lauren, do you want me to read yours?
Sure.
All right, Miss Libra. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, here we go. More than most people, you approach the world with curiosity and open-mindedness. You're willing to take in information that challenges your pre-existing ideas, to ask questions, to be changed by what you learn. Genuinely listening to what others have to say helps expand your mind and prevents you from becoming rigid or dogmatic. This week, just remember that all criticism isn't equally valid, and other people's ideas aren't inherently better or more valid than your own. At a certain point, it's okay to shut out all the noise and go with your gut.
Sometimes it's picking your battles, I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I get from that.
Picking
Yeah.
your battles in the horoscope. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big Libra part of me, is taking in as much information I can get to really weigh my options before I do things. And I am happy that I do that, but sometimes I do have to take a step back and be like, am I really right in this? Or is someone else's opinion better than mine? And I think especially with what we're going through at home right now with like training, I have to check myself to be like, I might not be right in this situation. I could be making things worse and have no idea, and like taking in those things and checking myself. It's a check myself week.
Check yourself.
Yeah. This week has been super emotional.
Last week was that for me.
Maybe it's the retrograde. I mean, I'm always blaming Mercury.
I will tell you, I was on my live 2 days ago and I had to shut down and restart because my phone decided to call itself 15 times over and over and over again. It was bizarre. I even put my phone on Do Not Disturb and I just kept seeing Carrie, Carrie, Carrie,
I
Carrie.
don't like that. That freaks me out. I don't like that.
So weird.
I don't like that at all.
And Ruthie was like, the call's coming from inside the house.
Oh my God.
And I was
That's
doing mediumship. And I'm like, I mean, I wasn't scared, but it was annoying. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop it.
I'm trying to work.
God.
I
And I
couldn't.
had to turn my phone off. I turned my phone off and I restarted my phone. And then I went back on live and it was fine. But I have screenshots literally 15 times in a minute and a half. Like it was just boom, boom, boom.
Ew.
Call, hang up, call, hang up. My own phone number.
I don't like that at all. I couldn't
So
upload our post on Instagram yesterday, no matter how hard I tried, how many times I left the app, how many times I turned my phone off. It just wouldn't load. And I was like, all right, so we're
But
playing this game.
that's communication. I mean, that's all what the
It-
Mercury retrograde that I understand is technology
yes.
communication.
Mhm.
And I saw something yesterday that I thought was really nice, because we fear the retrograde because of the way that it upsets our communication. But we can also think of it as a reset for how we're communicating. Like it kind of forces us to take a break and to
Yeah.
be like checking ourselves before we speak. Think about other people's, where they're coming from. Maybe what they're all like bent out of shape about has nothing even to do with you. Most times it doesn't.
Right.
And I do think
I mean, and
when I read it that way, I kind of like changed my thoughts on retrograde. And instead of being so like, oh my God, it's
yeah,
coming.
don't make other people's moods a personal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Literally.
Emily, want to read Carrie's?
So Carrie's Cancer. You understand that you need to advocate for yourself. If you have a great idea, it's up to you to make the case for it. If you deserve more credit than you're getting, nobody's going to speak up but you. On the other hand, you're keenly aware of how easy it is to lose perspective, stop listening, accidentally tread on others' toes. That doesn't mean you should pull back, retreat into yourself, and refuse to speak up, lest somebody thinks you're being too loud. Your job this week is to find the right balance.
It's a big communication week for everybody.
it
Mm.
is.
What do
Yeah.
you think about that, Carrie?
I mean, I think that it's very accurate. I actually just had a reading done. There's a girl I follow on TikTok who's like incredible with astrology and she does current transit readings. And I don't really understand all of that, but it really hit home in the sense of like, I'm really starting to embrace a more edgy part of my personality. And there's been a lot of people don't like it. And then it's just like, it's really all about being firm and standing my ground. It reminds me of like the Seven of Wands, like just like that's my energy right
Right.
now. And it's all, she said all of that, like within these transits and everything that's going on right now. But there does need to be, it's not all or nothing. You know what I mean? Like there does need to be, I need to figure out how to like integrate that and not just make it a part of like a new identity. It needs to be integrated.
Still
But now
Carrie, just edgy Carrie.
edgy Carrie. Well, just Carrie that doesn't, it's more like around and find out Carrie. Which has always been like, I mean, it's not that I've never had that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it would have to be really like pushed. I'd have to be really pushed there. I'd have to be pushed to the brink for that part of me to come out. But like lately, I just don't have the patience for feeling like I'm being disrespected in any way. And that includes people in my own hub. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've gotten really good at just not backing down when I feel like I'm not being heard or I'm not feeling seen. But some of the other personalities are the same way. So it's like at what point,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's just like it's hard. It's hard. It's
Mhm.
a very personal relationship, somebody I love very much, but it's challenging because it'll just go on and on and on and on until somebody gives in, and it's always been me. And I'm just like I'm trying to figure that all out, you
It's
know?
tough. And like it says, the only person who can advocate for your feelings, the things that you deserve, is yourself. And I've had to have those same conversations of you can't argue my feelings. They are mine and only mine.
Mhm.
And just because you don't think I should feel that way doesn't mean I'm not. And
Right.
I'm trying to express how you made me feel. And that's
And
kind of
yeah, that's pretty much like, yeah, you can't negotiate that. But
right. Feelings aren't negotiable.
I mean, I've gotten a lot more apologies out of this person than I ever have in my life. So something must be clicking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But it's still hard. It doesn't take away from it being hard.
right. Exactly. We're all just humans trying to figure it out.
Communicating when we're all speaking different languages half the time.
God, I
I know.
know. And I just think of like how many times is it really just a misunderstanding? It's probably most of the time a
Yes,
misunderstanding.
Hmm.
right. If you just kind of, I do that a lot. I misunderstand. I react so fast. And then when I take myself back, I'm like, that was so unnecessary of me. But then I don't want to apologize because I don't want to. But
Right.
Yeah.
it's a lot of it, almost all of it's a misunderstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll typically take accountability later.
Yeah, right. Let it settle down a little bit. And
Yeah.
so,
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, that
that's
was a
that's
cool exercise. I liked that.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's cool that you had a reading on the transitions because I think it's very interesting at where planets feel the most at home,
Yeah.
and then it's
And
where they're at
yeah.
in the time really affects how comfortable you feel.
Yeah, and I felt very like so she does it she kind of gave me a little bit extra because she'd never pulled my chart before, so she saw a lot of what was going on, and she was like, I feel so sorry for you. You literally overthink like everything. And I'm like, I feel so seen. I do. It's just constant. And I'm trying to told Emily the other day, I'm like, how do you like what do you can you fix that? If it's in your chart, can you fix it? I feel like you can't.
I think it's more when you just acknowledge it. And so when you kind of live with these parts and are just like, this is a part of me and I'm aware of it. And because I'm aware of it, maybe I can act on it a little better.
Yeah.
Like I just sent this to Mark because it flat out says in my chart that I just don't finish things. I will pick up things and I will do 90%. And then I go, that was fun. And I will
Same.
leave it not to end. And I know why I do that actually. I have a big problem with things ending. I don't like it. I every New Year's I cry just because that year's over. The things I leave behind in that year. If there's something about books, I will wait for that last like chapter for months because I just really love the first time you do something.
Yes.
And that's my problem. And
Yes.
I'm aware of it. And so I kind of am like, okay, does this really need to not be finished? I could just finish my laundry. I don't know that I ever will tackle that one. That might just be a permanent thing that is just not going to be finished all the time. But a lot of other things, yeah, I do need to see it through. And I think
Yeah.
it's seeing
I
those things.
problem. I don't think it's because I don't like endings. I don't know why I don't know why I do that. I'll have to dig into that.
Overthinking.
Shadow work around that.
I wonder how much of that has to do with the other day I heard about how cancer placements often are. I texted Carrie this. They say that one of the things that's not really talked about, but is a big aspect, is you're kind of like the doula for spiritual journeys and you hold that space. And so I wonder if the overthinking, a lot of it is holding this space, and then it's your inner conflict of, am I doing it right?
I'm sure.
You
Yeah.
know, it's probably a am I doing this right thing that just snowballs into
Yeah. And that's
overthinking.
honestly like what's really hard. I will be totally vulnerable right now and honest with teaching and that journey for me, which is a new journey. You know, I think I'm going to take away all the faces on the screens, like with the Zoom, because I'm so hyper in tune with the expressions and the body language. I've always
Yeah.
been like that. Like, you know, and we're all empaths. We've all have trauma around that. Like, let's be real. And I want more than anything for people to have a really great experience. But there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, why aren't they smiling? Like, why aren't they? They look so bored. Like, oh my God. And I'm just staring at all these faces and I'm trying to teach and I'm like, they hate it. They're miserable. Like this is I suck. And then I'm like, Carrie, when you are in a Zoom, are you just sitting there the whole time like this?
Hey, have you seen my listening face? I look like I hate the person I'm listening to. I took when Al was on our episode, I took a picture of me listening to him and I was like, I look like I despise you would never guess we're best friends. I will send it to you both. It is
Like
fine.
I have to like move the faces away because I think like, and I think it has a lot to do with I always feel like I need to somehow exhibit to somebody that I'm in communication with that I am like enthusiastic. And it goes back to even a lot of the jobs that I've had like pre this and like, you know, like always smiling, always happy, like, and I realized that because I'm very concerned. I'm like, nobody looks happy to be here. But then I'm like, Carrie, let's be realistic. Like, come on now. But it's just funny, like, God, what we have to overcome, you know? But I just want it to be perfect. And it's just, you know, and everybody did their introductions last night, all the new people, and everybody had like the kindest things to say about me. And I was just like never felt deserving of that. And then I'm like, they just said all these amazing things. And then I'm teaching the class and I'm like, they hate it. They hate me.
So part of that communication this week, Carrie, is talking to yourself of I deserve this.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's just funny. But then I'm able to like reel it in. Like that's the
Right.
overthinking. I'm constantly in an argument with myself in my head. So then I'm like, no, like it's because they're learning and it's fine. Like, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's just funny. Like, and it's interesting because I'm already, not that my students trigger me in any way, but I'm starting to see what my triggers are when it comes to mentoring and teaching. And I'm like kind of like keeping like a mental note of that because that's obviously something in myself that I need to work through and something I'm going to talk about with my mentor even like coming up in this teacher training program because sometimes your clients, your students, there will be triggers and I'm starting to see there's a pattern with me of what it's not that I get upset or anything, it's just more like frustrated, I think. And then how to like, you don't want to be frustrated. Like, and it's not frustrated like they're not getting it. It's more like certain behaviors trigger me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I need to work through that.
Especially as a teacher, like, do you think it's where people put their own blockages and then they're holding themselves back? Because that is very frustrating to watch people do that and be
Yeah.
like, you
And
can
I
do
do
this.
that. But it's like, but I also do that. So it's
We
a
all do.
mirror. It's a mirror,
Right.
right?
We all
And
do.
I think, and it has to do a lot when people, here's what it is. Like okay, again, with the vulnerability. It does have a lot to do with that. And how do I'm afraid that as a coach, a mentor, whatever you want to call me, that I'm going to push people too hard because I was always pushed really hard my entire life. And I do now, like, that's kind of taken over something I do to myself. I push myself and I push myself and I push myself. And where it's been really rewarding in a lot of situations, there needs to be balance to that. And I don't have balance to that. It's constantly like, you need to prove yourself. You need to do this. You need to be successful. You need to make this work. You're tired. Oh, well, go on, do it. Blah, 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 whatever it is. And I'm like, that's not healthy.
I feel like you are such a good mom in how you do that with your kids. It's probably, if you put that to your students, it's the same. The best you can do is give them all the tools that they can use to work for. And then it's kind of their job to use them and go forward. We can only provide people with what we have to offer. It's like the
Yeah.
giving tree. We only have what we have, and then it's other people's parts to then take it and put it to work.
Yeah. So true.
And especially, I think we've talked about this before, our generation has just always been, if you do not grind, girl boss, you will fail, it'll be over. And like that's really hard conditioning to undo.
And and that's an interesting thing because I don't think it should fully be undone because we live in
Right.
this reality, and the reality of it is, to a degree, you do have to work really hard to make things happen for yourself. You can't, it is completely unrealistic. And this is where I battle with manifestation of like that you do nothing and get everything. That is not how this dimension operates. It's not. And that's a trigger for me too, of like, do I think to a degree, do you have to push yourself to the point of burnout? Absolutely not. There needs to be some balance there. But also, like, if you girl boss, but oh, it's just,
It's so
It's all
much.
balance. It
it
all
is.
comes back to
And
balance.
balance is so hard.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
I think it all lies in accountability. That's the hardest part
Like,
because when we
yeah.
just
These
being a
people that get
human.
on TikTok and they're like, I don't work at all. I do nothing. And I think about $10,000 and then it appears in my bank account.
No, daddy put it in your bank account
That
probably.
is
Right.
such a lie and so toxic.
Yeah.
And what are you teaching people?
Right.
Terrible things. And
What
those are
are you?
people that they don't live with repercussions. They don't
No.
have to suffer their consequences and you can tell. And it's the worst because then I'm always like,
And people that like believe it.
right, you put other people in danger and they don't have to suffer the consequences of it. Because half the time they don't even know it's happening and also they don't care. And
Yeah.
it's really scary and it's really sad and it's really frustrating because a part of you on the inside is like, well, why can't that be me?
Yep.
I feel that all the time and it's really annoying, but it's
Yep.
also part of being human, I suppose.
Absolutely.
It's always nice. And I think I actually feel really bad for the people that kind of treat manifestation and things like that way, because I don't think they have people in their lives who really help them check themselves. Like
I
kind of
don't think
circling back to the conversations of this week and checking ourselves. Like when we first started this, I was so like in the zone and like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it was very helpful to check myself when it was like, listen, Carrie's a mom. You guys are starting your own
yeah,
businesses. You
this
guys
is
have your
supposed to
own
be
going on. Yes. And it's like, why? And that's part of my drive. When I do work, I am like, I don't
You're in
know.
it. Yeah.
And it's very nice having people in your life that are like, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, why do we feel the need for this? And you go, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. And then you can take your step back and yeah, when you have that
Yeah.
pause, you're like, oh, yeah, don't need to.
Oh my God. Lifing is just so hard.
Yeah. I just continuously tell myself, and I got this from you, Carrie, I can do hard things.
Damn right. Yep. It does work. I can do hard things. I'll be telling myself that soon because I'm a year in and still freak out before I go live. It is just never ends.
Some of those things don't.
But why? But why?
I did so many events, and every single one, I was absolutely panicked inside.
Do you think Taylor Swift like gags before she goes on stage?
Yes.
Probably.
I like to imagine that she is human, and yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you see football players, you can see on their face that they are holding in emotions.
Yeah.
You can. You can. And I think like what I'm learning too through we were talking about this the other day, me and Em, of like it's not the reading. I'm not afraid to go out there and read. I don't want to entertain.
Right.
Like I hate awkward moments. I hate them. So like when you engage me in the chat, I can talk all day. I have the
Right.
gift of gab. I can talk. But I can't seem to think about what to talk about.
Right.
So
Well,
I
you're
need
the
other
spotlight.
people. Yes. So I need other people to be like, hey, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And then I can go on for days. But if nobody's doing that and I'm just staring at myself, I'm like, so it's raining.
Right.
It's so
Right.
hard. And
It
that's
is.
what I get anxiety about. And I watch other creators and I want to get to that point where they don't feel the need to entertain the whole time. Like they'll
See,
just sit there and shuffle cards and stare at themselves.
well,
And
everybody just does their things so differently, and trying to figure out where your comfort is in it, and because it doesn't look like other people's, getting
Right.
over that's okay is really hard.
like I just dread when it's slow. That's what so what I started doing this week is if it's slow, I leave and I'm like, I'll be back. And that actually worked really well for me a couple days ago. I
Yeah.
had like 6 people in the live. It was so dead. Nobody was getting any readings. It was awkward. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna jump back on in an hour. I'll see you guys in an hour. Make sure you're following me. And then I had one of the best lives I've ever had. So
I
it's like
love
we
that.
need to break up with feeling like we owe people our time
Right.
and owe people entertainment. Like if I'm here, like not to sound cocky, but I'm here to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm here because this is my job.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
here. I'm sorry, this is so up, but I'm not here out of the kindness of my heart.
Me
I'm
either.
here because I have bills to pay.
Same.
That's fine. Like, why do people have to be so like gung ho on you doing things and not deserving money for it? Like,
I
I
know.
wish I had the comfort of sorry, but these like straight white males who are just like, I deserve this. Where someone questions my price and I'm like, oh, well, uh, let me look at what I can do. No, I
Right.
deserve to be paid for my work.
Exactly.
You guys deserve to be paid for your work. You're there working. How do I get
Sometimes
that
Carrie
confidence?
will have in her live saying like if she says like I'm doing a paid reading right now, I'll get to in a second, they'll be like, oh, of course the money comes first. And it's like you're right, the money comes first.
Yeah, tell me money doesn't come first for you when you've got
Right.
bills to pay and mouths to feed. Like, please.
But
Money comes
I'm
first for everybody trying to
sorry,
survive.
who told you that the world owes you anything?
Right.
Get them, Carrie.
Specifically someone that you don't know.
I don't know you. Right, exactly. You're a stranger. I wouldn't know you if I tripped over you.
Right.
So why do you feel like I owe you anything?
It
I
is
know.
very weird where people get those ideas and
I know.
act upon it.
They seem to think like certain things should be free.
Yep.
Nothing is free.
Mhm.
Nothing is free. It takes time and energy to do this. It
Yeah.
took money to learn this, and time and blood and sweat and tears.
And a lot of money.
And a lot of money. Yeah, it was an investment, a
Yeah.
major investment, like a college degree.
That we're
I mean,
still paying off.
and that we will continue to pay off.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not like we didn't just wake up one day and say, let's be psychics.
Right.
No, like I didn't come out of the womb predicting anything. I had to learn and I had to practice and I had to do it.
Yep.
There's a lot of self work that you guys did that people
Yes.
don't do.
Right. So
You
I
guys did
don't
this extra
fucking
layer.
postal on your ass in a live
Right. Exactly.
and get my ass banned for all eternity from TikTok.
It is crazy the nerve of people
Yeah.
It
and
is.
how they just get by on life.
Do me. Somebody came into Team Spirit podcast yesterday. Do me.
Oh, I heard.
Oh, and I said
And Emily,
would be nice.
please would be
Gonna
nice.
do you. And then I'm like, remember, Carrie, kill him with kindness. That's a hard one. It does kill him a lot faster, though.
It
They
does.
move on a lot quicker when you kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't get it's like people strive for that reaction.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
so when you won't give it to them, they have to go seek it elsewhere.
Yep.
It feels nice when you just be like, all right, glad we talked.
Yeah.
See you
Yeah.
never.
Although Carrie has this psychopath that keeps coming into her live and making new accounts every 3.3 seconds.
It's crazy. I don't even know how that's possible. I really don't. That's disturbing.
Yeah.
I was going to use the Rose Oracle today if I can pull the card.
Yeah.
Pull a card for the collective. What do we need to hear today? Oh, okay. So we got the Mystic Rose, which is compassion, devotion, humility, humanity, and grace. The rose was a symbol of the goddess of old, so it's no wonder that when Christianity absorbed large parts of the indigenous Celtic traditions in Europe, the mother goddess, Mother Mary, became associated with the rose. Perhaps the reason Mary is so beloved is because she was the only mother goddess who could be worshipped safely. As such, carries with her the devotion and yearning of all those who long to worship the goddess in a feminine form. Mary's connection with the rose is seen in some of her titles, including Rose Mystica and the Rose Without Thorns. Like those of the pagan goddesses before her, the processions that honor Mary involved walking on rose petals. The church altered the stories of goddesses past, including those that featured roses, such as Aphrodite turning the white rose red with her blood, putting Mary in the goddess's place. Churches were erected all over Europe and beyond, in many cases on the site of Celtic temples and places of goddess worship. Many had beautiful rose windows in the west, the direction of the feminine, in dedication to Mary, Mother of the Rose. This is a card of compassion, devotion, and grace, as it encourages us to soften towards humanity and to endeavor to see the world and even those who have hurt us with understanding, an open heart, and deep humility. We're being called out right now.
Yep.
To see that we all carry hurt and are wounded. We have all experienced serving. Mother Mary is inviting you to open your heart to humanity when you most want to close. The soul inquiry is, how are you being called to show compassion today? Womp womp.
Collective silence from the three of us.
Yeah.
Okay, loud and clear.
Yeah, heard ya.
Whatever.
Well, then you know what? This was our little therapy session to get it out. And now we can have some compassion for the world.
Yes, exactly.
And I mean, that is kind of what we talked about this episode being, is probably something that a lot of people are feeling this frustration with, I think, communication right now. And maybe to feel some solidarity gives you compassion and what everybody else is also feeling in frustration.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Fine. So thank you for being here. As a reminder, we're going to be putting these out bi-weekly. So after this episode drops, the next episode will be 2 Fridays after. And also for our listeners, we have our code with Bite Tag. It's a tag for your pet's collars. So if they go missing, the person who finds them can quickly get in contact with you with the scan of their QR code on the tag, so they don't have to go to the vet or the rescue to scan for a microchip. And our code is Team Spirit Pod, and you get 15% off. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Pod. Emily and Carrie are both on TikTok and Instagram and go live on TikTok. Carrie is at Clarity by Cam, CAM. Emily is at Enchanted Mystic by MK. Whew,
Love it.
a lot of wind.
That was great.
Yep.
Anyway, we will see you next time. Bye. Be nice, I guess.
Yes, have compassion.
I'll try.